condemned by Nigerians and, of course, in several quarters, especially amongst the traditional institutions. So, one of them, His Royal Highness Apollos Chu, put pen to paper to rebut that disparate statement. And he has come up with a book titled, Not All Nigerians Are Corrupt. He presented the book at the just concluded 16th Africa Security Conference. And here are some issues he raised on that occasion.
We should be promoting the good part of Nigeria. I do know that the world is a world of Nigeria is a market. And I do know that there are a few countries in the world who have enjoyed the monopoly of the Nigeria market. And because Nigerians are coming up in age, in coming into businesses, trying to put their feet on ground by establishing businesses and products, it becoming threat to so many other great countries that have enjoyed the Nigeria market. I use the opportunity to tell the world that there are so many Nigerians in the Western world doing wonderfully well, supporting the economy of the other sister countries and the Western world. You can find them in their military, you can find them in their universities, you can also find them in their hospitals, working very hard, promoting the economy, but they will never come to the media to say that this is Nigeria who are doing wonderfully well. They can always mention Nigeria when they find one Nigeria who committed a crime or made a mistake, and they generalize those words to all Nigeria who are working very hard. Take note today that Nigeria, all of us are not corrupt. What is happening today is a sample to show, to demonstrate that Nigeria are very hard-working citizens of the world.
All right, that's excerpts from the book, Not All Nigerians Are Corrupt. And we have right here in the studio Dame Marcus, who is a writer, storyteller, and editor. He's also Rivers State Chapter Chairman of the Screenwriters Guild of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us. Quickly, what's this book all about? Is it a rebuttal, as the content, the first chapter of the book depicts, or is it a statement of fact?
Well, it is both a rebuttal and a statement of fact that not all Nigerians are corrupt. Okay, because just like the clip we played earlier, when you say, like David Cameron said, that all Nigerians are fantastically corrupt, that's making a blanket statement. Okay, you're taking it for granted that everybody in Nigeria is corrupt, and that's not true. Okay, so here we have a world leader who has made a statement that's apparently not true, but yet the whole world has taken it as gospel, and is being propagated by the Western media as such. So this book comes out to say, no, not all Nigerians are corrupt. So it is both a statement of fact and a rebuttal.
Well, yeah, in terms of content, what are the arguments that the author marshals in seeking to respond to that denigrating remark by the former British Prime Minister? Okay.
Now, the first thing he does is to make us know that, first, corruption is a human problem. It's not a Nigerian problem. Okay? There are corrupt people in America, there are corrupt people all over the world. So corruption is a human problem. Now, if corruption is a human problem, and we don't go about saying, okay, Europeans are corrupt, Americans are corrupt, all French people, for instance, are corrupt, why now make the same statement about Nigeria? So that one is taken for is a statement he starts out with: corruption is a human problem. But then, why does this statement hold water in the world today? Why do people still go on to say, oh, Nigerians are corrupt, or Nigerians are corrupt? It comes down to simple economics. And by the way, every human relationship is economical in one way or the other, more so international relations. Okay? So you have everybody jostling for position in the marketplace. So the book comes out to say, could it be that this whole emphasis that Nigerians are corrupt is because there is, so to speak, a conspiracy to demarket Nigeria? Don't forget, Nigeria is the largest black nation, the most populous black nation on earth. So yeah, here you have a huge market, and then Nigerians are also growing, that we're intellectually advanced, we are doing amazing things all over the world. So Nigeria is being looked at as a threat. That's what the book implies, and it's very, very correct. So if you have a threat coming from Africa, which happens to be, like it or not, the biggest market for the rest of the world, okay, what do? We try to shut it down.
The first part, part 1,
Yeah.
has the title Western Bias Against Nigeria, A History of Conspiracy and Sabotage. Now, the very first quote, you say, I'd just like you to explain what you're telling, what story, what message are you trying to pass? The source of every crime is some defect of understanding, or some error in reasoning, or some sudden force of the passions.
Okay. Now, that's a quote from Thomas Hobbes. Okay. Now, incidentally, it's not my words, not my book.
Thomas
Okay.
Hobbes, yes.
I'm the editor of the book. Okay.
But
I'm
good
the editor of the
scientist.
book. Okay. So what is the author trying to pass with that quotation? He tells us that human problems are basic to human nature.
Yes, and how does it relate
Fine.
with the message here?
Now, that now is where he now starts off from, to tell us that corruption is not a Nigerian problem. It is not, let me use the word, it is not synonymous to Nigeria like it's being made to sound these days. It's not synonymous to Nigeria. In as much as you've got human beings all over the world, they've got the same intrinsic human problems.
Okay, Dame, I mean, as an editor, your role is fairly obvious. Did you find this an interesting manuscript to work on as an editor?
Yeah, quite interesting. Now, the first point that struck me is this thing coming from a traditional ruler. And I felt it was kudos to the traditional institution, because don't forget, they are closest to people. Okay? So here is a traditional ruler who has felt the pulse of his people, knows their pains, okay, and it's now coming out to say, hey, this thing you're saying about us is untrue. So for me as a Nigerian, I felt excited working on it. Okay.
Okay, I say this to our viewers, I mean, by way of explanation, the chapterization of the book. I mean, you talked about sections and chapters, and why did you adopt the chapterization style?
Okay. Now, if we just went out telling the story from beginning to end, it'd probably run like a novel, but it's not a novel. A lot of research went into the work, apparently. So we broke it down into three parts. Okay. The first part now begins with looking at the fact that there is a calculated Western media propaganda, a bias against Africa, and in this case, particularly Nigeria. Okay. Now, if we go back to history, for instance, let's look at the whole issue of colonization. Okay. Colonization was necessary, given that we had already started trading with the West. Okay, but they saw Africa as an expansion and an opportunity to expand their market. That's why I started out by saying international relations is purely economics. So they saw Africa as an opportunity to expand the market. Now, how do we expand our market? We demarket everything from there. So that's why you now have a situation where we see everything black, everything African as bad, and everything foreign, European, as good. Okay, so now we carry over this into contemporary times where we even have our independence now, but the market in Nigeria has grown wider. So how do we now perpetuate our hold on this market? This is Western thinking. Incidentally, there's a chapter there in that same first part. I think it's chapter 3 or thereabout. Okay, and the quote there is from John Perkins, who's the self-styled economic hitman. Okay, and he explains that the whole essence of international relations, getting global aids or funding from the West, is just a way for the West to perpetuate their hold on global economy. So they give you something, and then they look for a way to take it back from you. Now, what better way to take it back from Nigeria when you, other than by starting off from the premise that Nigeria in itself is a corrupt country? So it then means that our products don't even leave the starting block. And that could explain why, like it or not, the country has become a global dumping ground.
Okay, let me, I just...
Sorry, Claire,
yes.
you just dealt with the first part of the book.
Yeah.
There are 3 parts, and referring to the third
Yes.
chapter in part 1, which is economic control, the new warfare, and you referenced John Perkins, who's the author of Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
Yes.
Now, second part, what are you talking about? What does the book talk about, rather, so that we don't say you are the author? Yes, yeah, because you are the book editor. What is the second part talking about? Yes.
Okay, and the second part of the book, we now come down to a situation where we're looking at the fact that, okay, fine, we've left the case of the history behind, okay? Is Nigeria making any efforts? Are there things we can look at and say, okay, yeah, Nigerians are not all corrupt? That's what it goes into explaining. Okay. By the last chapter, you now come down to talking about specific Nigerians who are actually doing great things. Okay. The book mentions people like Tunde Aliyu Jelani, okay, the young man who works for Chevrolet and developed the Chevrolet Volt. So there are people like, even here in Nigeria, it talks about Chief Eric Okoye, that's Juhel Pharmaceuticals. Okay. Amazing story. Started from a one room, just a single room, and today Juhel is a household name and doing great things outside the country. And other people that are cited there, Nigerians, are they corrupt? No. So why lump them all and say they're corrupt?
You know, one thing that attracts me, you know, and I won't call myself much of a reader, but one thing that attracts me in a book is either the cover page, and I find this quite interesting, of course, with the pictures and faces of, you know, great Nigerians, both living and past, are here. And then also the choice of language and writing style. For you, what, you know, do you think would have prompted, you know, this cover page and the writing style?
Well, again, it is a book that, like we started out saying, goes out to one, refute a statement, and two, state a fact. So, and it's a fact about a people, about Nigerians. So yes, we have to look at Nigerians past, present. If there's a way to get the future ones, we'll also get them, okay? Because don't forget, the future is based on the past and the present, okay? So that's what informed the
So
cover
of course,
design.
These are symbols of great leaders.
Yes, great
who probably
people.
were not corrupt.
Yes,
Okay.
great people, great Nigerians who were not corrupt.
Okay, I just back to you again, Dame. The book, together with the preliminary pages and the appendices, it's 232 pages. But of course, the point size is quite big, and the leading is also that leading is between the lines. It's also extensive. Why the choice of this?
The whole idea was to, now this was actually my own call. It was to present a book that didn't look boring. You pack it too closely, of course you put readers off. So give it a relaxed feel. And then while you're relaxed going through it, it's also flavored with quotes and all that. You actually get the meat of the matter.
Who are you targeting? Because
Nigerians,
all
first and foremost. Okay, the essence is let's change the narrative. Okay, let's change the narrative. It begins with us. Nobody will come do it for us. So let's change the narrative. And I think that's what I'm trying to say. Let's change the narrative, and then we can now go ahead and sell ourselves internationally.
I was just wondering, because I have a copy here, and I'm also going through this. Okay, well, there's an ISBN number there. I don't see a prize on this. This is hardback. There's no prize. So,
Well, I think that pricing will be subject to the
publishers.
Discretion.
Okay.
Yes. So,
Okay,
but
yes.
I think it's on. I think it's on Amazon. So you look it up on Amazon. The price is there. So I think it's on Amazon.
But again, I mean, because in terms of editing and having to draw from your own experience in reading some publications in the past that have talked about how the African continent or the black race had been mercilessly exploited. The latest, of course, being what you just indicated. That's John Perkins, the economic hitman of Walter Rodney, had written his own purpose. You know, we also had several other authors in the past. Is this likely to be the end of the struggle against that, some would say, ever-flowing stream of stigmatization of the African continent, in this case Nigeria?
I don't believe so. But the thing that is striking about this one is that it is coming from the traditional institution. And this is an institution that we Nigerians look at as privileged class. Okay? But this is someone from that institution saying an injury to one is an injury to us all. And so he takes the pain, makes the effort to correct it. So now we'll expect other people, of course, to join in and raise their voices.
Okay, now, this book in 3 chapters,
3 parts.
3 parts, have tried to tell us that indeed not all Nigerians are corrupt,
yeah.
which means, of course, there are corrupt Nigerians.
Yeah.
So has it also told us what's to be done to the corrupt Nigerians?
It's fairly obvious. Just like I started out saying, corruption is a human problem. Crime is a human problem. It's not peculiar to any place. So what do you do when you catch a criminal? You deal with the criminal on the basis of his crime. You don't use the crime of an individual, okay, as a blanket label for a whole people, for a whole nation. So deal with these corrupt people where they are, okay? Whether they are Nigerians or non-Nigerians, deal with them where you get them.
Is it contained here?
Yes, it's
What
there.
part?
I think it's somewhere in even in the first part also starts out saying it. It's a thread that runs through, and it's also re-emphasized in the conclusion. So deal with corruption where you find it. And interestingly, what is corruption? Okay, to be corrupt is simply to be perverted. That is to be a deviant. Okay, so if someone deviates from the norm, set social standard, deal with the person on the merit of his own crime. Now, if you now go ahead to use that single individual's corruption or case of corruption to now blanket or label this entire nation, that's a deviation itself.
Besides being Nigerian,
Yeah.
what might be the prompt for the traditional ruler to, write a book with such title?
Well, first and foremost, he's a Nigerian. so
Yeah, I said besides being
so besides, yeah.
Is
So
this his first book?
no, it's not his first book.
What number is this? You have an idea?
This is about number 3 or 4, I think.
Number 3. Okay, because
Yeah.
part of the biographical sketch,
Yes,
says
yes,
that he's
yeah.
a prolific, writer, philanthropist, and founder of a foundation that is also named after him. All right. Okay, on that note, we'd like to thank you, Dame Marcos, writer, storyteller, and book editor of a new title that's just been released, Not All Nigerians Are Corrupt, authored by Royal Highness Apollos Chu, of course, the traditional ruler in Rivers State. I'd like to thank you for being with us.
Thank you so very much. Thank you very much.
All right, so that does it for our second